All right, so we've got quite the interesting piece to deep dive into today.
Yeah, this one's pretty wild.
It's like a short story.
Yeah.
But also kind of like a self-help guide for poets.
Exactly. It's a very unusual blend.
But I think it's going to be a really fun one.
I think so, too.
So, you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, so this piece is called The Grump Day in the Morning Mailbox.
Catchy title.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it starts off by introducing us to this concept of Grump Day.
Which is apparently January 29th.
Of course. Why not?
Makes perfect sense.
And our main character is this guy simply called the Grump.
He's having a really rough day.
Yeah, he's really living up to that name.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So he goes to get his mail.
And this is where things get interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The mailbox is like overflowing with bills and statements and all that fun stuff.
Plus a flyer for Corn Chip Day.
Because of course there is.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So the Grump is like understandably not thrilled.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
True. But it's the way the author describes it.
It's so over the top.
Yes.
It's almost slapstick.
Like the mailbox is practically attacking him with all this paper.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the point.
I think so.
Yeah, it's like this exaggerated version of something we all experience.
You mean like getting bombarded with bills and responsibilities?
Yeah, exactly. Like that feeling of being overwhelmed by the mundane stuff of life.
I feel that.
We've all been there.
For sure.
Yay.
And then the author takes it a step further and turns the mailbox into a symbol.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets deep.
Tell me about it.
So the mailbox represents all those unfulfilled hopes and dreams.
Because it's constantly getting filled with bills instead of, good news or personal letters.
Exactly. It's like this constant reminder of what we're not getting.
And the Grump, he represents that part of us that just wants to give up.
The part that's tired of fighting.
Yeah, the part that just wants to wallow in the grumpiness.
And let's be honest, sometimes that's tempting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to embrace the Grump.
Right.
But then the story takes a turn.
A pretty sharp one.
Yeah, it goes from this silly mailbox story to this really intense discussion about the power of words.
And the author doesn't hold back.
Not at all.
They straight up say words are like bombs or loaded revolvers.
Intense much.
Right.
But I think it's a really powerful way to make us think about the impact of language.
Oh, absolutely. Every word we say or write has weight. It can affect other people.
And the author is especially talking to aspiring poets here.
They're like, wake up, people. Your words have power. Use them wisely.
And they even bring up Poetry Slam.
Which is such a great example of this.
I love Poetry Slam.
Yeah.
It's so raw and emotional.
With the verbal battleground.
Exactly. And the author is saying that you need that same kind of intensity in your writing.
You need to be strategic.
And even a little ruthless.
Yeah, they actually say you need rage. You need words that hit like goddamn bullets.
Whoa. Okay, tell us how you really feel.
Right.
But I get it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there.
You can't just write pretty words and expect people to care.
You have to make them feel something.
Exactly. You have to connect with them on an emotional level.
And that takes guts.
It does, and it takes skill.
So what do you think is the big takeaway here for our listeners?
I think it's about recognizing the power of our own words.
We all have the potential to use language to create something meaningful.
Or to destroy.
True.
So we have to be careful.
Yeah, we have to choose our words carefully.
And use them with intention.
Because they can have a lasting impact.
Long after we've spoken them.
Exactly.
Powerful stuff.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface.
We still haven't even gotten to the Poetry Master advice.
Oh, yeah. That's coming up next.
Get ready for some serious poetic firepower.
I can't wait.
Should be fun.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to dive into the secrets of Poetry Master.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and ready to unlock the secrets of Poetry Master. Are you ready for this?
I am so ready to spill the poetic tea.
All right, so one of the first things the author emphasizes is this idea of mixing pain, humor, and darkness.
Like a poetic cocktail.
Exactly. They want you to create this emotional roller coaster for the reader.
So make them laugh and cry at the same time.
Pretty much they want you to tap into the whole spectrum of human emotion.
So no holding back then.
Nope. The author is all about embracing your vulnerabilities, your darkest thoughts, even finding the humor in those dark places.
That's pretty intense.
It is, but it's also what makes for powerful writing.
I can see that.
Think about the books or poems that have really stayed with you.
The ones that made you feel something.
Exactly. They probably weren't all sunshine and rainbows.
True. The best stories often have that element of darkness or struggle.
And this author is encouraging poets to tap into that.
To use their own experiences as fuel for their writing.
To bleed onto the page, as they say.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
But it's not just about emotional vomit, right?
No, definitely not. There's strategy involved, too.
Like how you structure your poem or the words you choose.
Yeah. Exactly. Remember, the author compared words to bombs and loaded revolvers.
Every word has to have an impact.
Precisely, they want you to be deliberate with your language, to choose words that pack a punch.
So it's not enough to just feel it. You have to craft it.
You got it. Raw emotion meets calculated precision.
A poetic 1-2 punch.
I like that.
But wait, there's more?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole other layer to this.
Tell me everything.
So the author doesn't just focus on the writing itself.
What else is there?
Performance?
You mean like how you deliver the poem?
Exactly. They believe that even the most amazing poem can be elevated by a captivating performance.
So it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Absolutely. They want you to own the stage with your words.
Like a rock star poet?
Exactly. They want you to connect with the audience on an emotional level.
To make them feel every word.
And that takes confidence and charisma.
And practice, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Tons of practice.
This is starting to sound less like a poetry guide and more like a performance manual.
I think that's a pretty accurate description.
But I kind of love it.
Me too. It's like they're giving you the tools to not just write great poetry, but to perform it too.
To really bring it to life.
Exactly. And imagine if we applied those same techniques to other areas of our lives.
Like public speaking or even just having a more engaging conversation.
Right.
I can just imagine walking into a business meeting and delivering a presentation like a poetry slam champion.
Okay, that would be something.
I think we should try it.
Maybe not for every meeting.
Okay, fair enough.
But I see your point.
This whole deep dive has really made me think about the power of words.
Me too. It's easy to forget how much impact they can have.
Whether we're writing poetry, giving a presentation, or just having a casual conversation.
We have a responsibility to use our words wisely.
And to choose them carefully.
Because they can have a lasting effect on the people around us.
Okay, so before we move on to the final part of this deep dive...
Which is going to be juicy, I promise.
Oh, I believe it.
The author leaves us with a pretty thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me with it.
They ask, do you believe that our words can be like bombs or loaded revolvers?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And if so, what kind of ammunition are you loading into your own writing?
Whoa, that's deep.
It's making me rethink my whole vocabulary.
Me too. It's a reminder that we have to be mindful of the words we choose.
Because they can have a real impact on the world.
All right, so we're going to leave you with that question to ponder.
But don't worry, we'll be back soon to finish up this deep dive.
And trust me, you don't want to miss the grand finale.
It's going to be epic.
And we're back for the final round of our deep dive into grumpy mailboxes and poetic warfare.
Yeah, who knew we could extract so much from a cranky dude and his overflowing mailbox?
I know, right? But this author really took something ordinary and turned it into something special.
It's all about perspective.
Totally. And speaking of perspective, I want to hear your final thoughts on this whole poetry master approach.
It's definitely a unique approach, that's for sure.
You think it's too extreme?
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, not everyone's going to be comfortable with that level of intensity.
Exactly. But there's something to be said for embracing those raw emotions.
Like the author said, bleed onto the page.
Right. And not everyone's going to love what you create, but that's okay.
It's about expressing yourself authentically.
Exactly. And finding your own voice.
Even if it's a little messy or uncomfortable.
Or a lot messy and uncomfortable.
True, but I think that's where the real power lies.
In that vulnerability.
In that rawness.
And the author's really pushing poets to tap into that.
To use their experiences as fuel for their writing.
To not be afraid to shake things up.
And maybe even piss a few people off.
Well, maybe not intentionally.
But if it happens, it happens.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's about connecting with people.
Making them feel something.
And sometimes that means pushing boundaries.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners?
I think it's about finding that balance between raw emotion and calculated precision.
Like that poetic 1-2 punch we talked about.
Exactly. It's about using your words with intention.
And not being afraid to let your true self shine through.
Even if it's a little grumpy sometimes.
Yeah, embrace your inner grump.
But use that grumpiness for good.
Channel it into something creative.
Exactly. Turn that frustration into art.
And who knows, maybe you'll become the next poetry man.
Or maybe you'll just write a really killer email.
Either way, words have power.
Never forget that.
All right, so that wraps up our deep dive into the Grump Day in the Morning Mailbox.
And the poetry master within.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
And learned a thing or two about the power of words.
If you're feeling inspired to unleash your inner poet,
or just want to add a little more oomph to your writing.
Check out Poetry Master. Poetry Power in 7 days.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
And hey, maybe you'll even send us your masterpiece.
We'd love to read it.
So until next time, keep those words flowing.
Keep exploring those unexpected sources of inspiration.
And never underestimate the power of a grumpy mailbox.
Or a well-placed damn feeling.
Peace out.